Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday and we are going to be doing our maths. Now, today we're going to warm up with doing some quick fire doubles, okay? Now, you did doubling with Miss Dolby last week, so we're going to use a spinner, and whichever number it lands on, we're going to use our fingers to find the double. Are you ready? Let's go. 4. Okay, 4 on this hand. So how many on this hand? 4. Double 4 makes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double 4 makes 8. Lovely, let's do it again. 2. 2 on this hand, so how many on this hand? 2. Double 2 makes 2, 3, 4. Double 2 makes 4. Well done. Do you notice how I'm counting on? So rather than counting all of my fingers all from the beginning like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can just count on because I already know that's 2. So I can just count on 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've had 4 and we've had 2. Oh, 3. 3 on this hand. So how many on this hand? 3. 3, 4, 5, 6. Double 3 makes 6. Lovely. Oh, 5. Double 5 makes 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Double 5 makes 10. Last one. The only one we haven't had yet is 1, isn't it? We're going to get 1. Oh, look at that. How lucky. Double 1 makes 2. 1, 2. Okay. Now we're going to do our activity today, and our focus this week is all on sharing and sharing fairly. Now today we are going to be getting Mr. Winterburn and Mrs. Marsden ready for lunch. So what we're going to do is we have got a packed lunch box for Mr. Winterburn and a packed lunch box for Mrs. Marsden, and we need to share out the food that we've got here so that it's fair and so that they have the same amount. Because remember, when we share things, it's got to be done fairly. Otherwise, one person might have more than the other, and that would be what we call unfair. So let's start with this yummy cake. Oh, now, how are we going to share this yummy cake? I could give the cake to Mr. Winterburn, but then look what would happen. So if we tried what we did yesterday, 1 for you, 1 for you, let's see what would happen. 1 for you. Oh, there's not another cake. Is that fair? It's not fair because Mr. Winterburn's got a cake and Mrs. Marsden doesn't. What could we do then to make this fair? They'll both want a slice of cake, I'm sure. Is there anything we could do to make this fair? Is there anything we could do to share it? I know. Perhaps we could cut it. Now, how would we cut this to make it fair for Mr. Winterburn and Mrs. Marsden? How many people are there? 1, 2. Now, if we want to cut something into 2 pieces, we call that half. Can you say that? Half. So what you could do, if you were doing real cooking, you might use a little knife, very safely, to cut something in half. Shall we see if we can do it? Let's see if we can cut the cake in half. There we go. Now we've cut the cake into half, how many pieces are there? Let's count. 1, 2. So now we can share it fairly between Mr. Winterburn and Mrs. Marsden. 1 for you. Oops. Let's try that again. 1 for you and 1 for you. How many pieces of cake do they have each? 1 for Mr. Winterburn, 1 for Mrs. Marsden. So we say that that is fair. Okay, let's try with this yummy pineapple. Now, how are we going to do this to make it fair again? Because there's only 1 pineapple, and if I give it to Mr. Winterburn, Will that be fair on Mrs. Marsden? It won't. So we will need to cut it into half again. Can you say that? Half. Let's see. One for you and one for you. They each now have one piece of pineapple each, or half of a pineapple each. Oh, yummy, yummy chocolate. Now, how are we going to do this? Do you think we could share the chocolate chunks out fairly? Now, what we could do this time is we could cut the chocolate bar in half again so that we give half to Mr. Winterburn and half to Mrs. Marsden, or perhaps we could break it down into little chunks. Let's try it. One for you, one for you. Oh, do you think we could keep going? One for you and one for you. Oh, we've still got some chocolates left. Should we share them out fairly still? One for you and one for you. How many pieces of chocolate does Mr. Winterburn have? 1, 2, 3. How many does Mrs. Marsden have? 1, 2, 3. Do they have the same amount? They do. So we say that that is fair. They've also got half of the chocolate bar each. Oh, now an ice cream. This might be difficult to share out fairly. So, with a real ice cream, it might actually be a bit difficult to cut it in half. But let's give it a go, shall we? So, if we cut it down the middle to make it fair so that they have the same amount each, let's see if we could do it. One for you and one for you. They've both got half of an ice cream each. How lovely. Okay, now we're going to cut this watermelon. Do you like watermelon? I do. It's a lovely, yummy fruit. Okay, now let's cut the watermelon into two. Some for you and some for Mrs. Marsden. Oh, that's a big piece of watermelon, isn't it? Is that fair? Well, they've both got a piece of watermelon, haven't they? One for you and one for you. Oh, but is it really fair? Why not? Because Mrs. Marsden has got a lot more than poor Mr. Winterburn. Do you think he's going to be happy with that tiny slice of watermelon when Mrs. Marsden's got a really big piece? Shall we see if we can cut it a little bit better so that it's fair? Let's see if we can try. Okay, so if we want it to be fair, we've got to split it in half, which means that they'll have the same amount each. So I'm going to pretend to cut it down the middle. There we go. And I'm going to give one piece to Mr. Winterburn and one piece to Mrs. Marsden. That looks better, doesn't it? That's definitely much more fair than last time. Let's just double check then that they've got the same things in their lunchbox. Does Mr. Winterburn and Mrs. Marsden both have a slice of cake? Yes. Do they both have half of a piece of pineapple each? Yes. Have they both got the same amount of chocolate chunks? Yes, they do, look. They both got 3 each. Do they have half of an ice cream cone? They do. And do they have the same amount of watermelon each? Yes, they do. Okay, now, today your activity is to have a go at doing this. You can have a go at the cut and stick packed lunch activity and decide who you're going to share your pretend food with. This is also a really good way to practice those scissor skills because we are trying really hard, aren't we, to make sure that we're cutting really carefully. And when you're doing this activity, you've got to try really hard to make it fair for each person's lunchbox. Now, as a challenge today, you might actually like to explore having real food. So perhaps a banana or perhaps an apple, and have a go at cutting and practicing sharing food between 2 people and cutting it in half, okay? Because when there's a whole object, you can't share it very fairly unless you split it into half. Okay, have a lovely day, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.